Hello, everybody. My name is Shanth Enjeti, and I am streaming to you live as I work on Book 2, Shanth Enjeti Art Rigor Mortrex, available right now on Indiegogo. It is in demand, it is already funded, and I am putting the finishing touches on a bonus piece thanks to some YouTubers who, on my last stream, decided to go and back the book, so thank you for that, everybody. And this piece is inspired by Shin Godzilla. And it's going to be a massive, massive painting. There we go, that's a little better. Make sure I'm keeping that in frame here. What I'm doing right now is I'm using a white Sakura Jelly Roll pen to put in some white textural highlights that I'll probably wash over with some gouache, and I'll probably use a red gouache to kind of bring those out, but this is just one of the ways in which I add layers and detail to my stuff. So what you're seeing right here is how I'm going to add the texture into the creature. And I've got some black areas under here, I've got some red areas under here, and I've even got a little bit of gold mixed in because this painting is going to have metallic paint in it. And this will give me kind of another base. So some of this stuff that you're seeing right here has had a red wash over it or a black wash over it. And that's why it looks the way it does. It's got this really layered approach to it. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's a little bit better. One of the things I just love about Shin Godzilla and all of the Godzilla films in general, there's this just beauty to the scale, and there's this beauty to the interaction the characters have with their environment. My favorite Godzilla films, I'd have to say, are the original Godzilla film. Actually, to be honest with you, I like King of the Monsters, the one with Raymond Burr in it. But my other favorite Godzilla film, the one that I enjoy the most, probably since the first one, I love 2014, even though there's not a lot of Godzilla in it. I think it's a great movie. But I really love Shin Godzilla. I just think it's a dynamite film, and I think the big attack that Godzilla inflicts in that film, at that kind of chaotic moment when he kind of opens up. He opens up his jaw and he's just laying waste to everything, is the strongest one of those sequences since the original film. It's actually terrifying to watch in the best sense. The destructive power of Godzilla is really shown in a way that I think works for right now, and I love that movie. I've actually been interested in getting for some time a work by one of my favorite artists that I was introduced to by Leslie P. Chambers of Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews. I know I talked about him last stream, but I'll talk about him again. I think he's one of the most positive and enthusiastic people on YouTube, and he's just epitomizes to me anyway the best kind of fan. And he is a collector of X Plus vinyl figures, and he introduced me to a sculptor who works on some of those, works on SH Monster Arts, and works, I guess he did a couple of Shin Godzilla for Banpresto, and I am really excited to, get a hold of that Shin Godzilla figure. And it is just a beautiful figure. I love the way that, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Yuji Sakai. Probably butchering his name. But I love the way that he sculpts. He really has this amazing character that he gets into all of his sculptures. They're just breathtaking. It doesn't matter what era or what subject matter he's sculpting. He's just a genius. I would say he's one of my favorite creature sculptors working today. I think the best creature sculptor working today that I'm a huge fan of in terms of concepts for movies is Simon Lee, or Spider Zero on Instagram. And Simon's just an amazing guy. Just an incredible artist. And once again, for those of you guys who are new to this stream, or catching it later, or catching it now, my name is Shanth Enjeti. I'm an illustrator and artist. I have a book on Indiegogo right now of my illustration work, and this is one of the paintings that's going to be in it. And I wanted to give everyone who tunes into my channel and checks out my videos a chance to take a look at my process. And there we go. And the link to my book is in the description for anybody interested in getting it. And I know some of you guys have already got it, and I thank you for that. This painting is happening because the project got backed over $6,000, and I wanted to add a painting as a way of saying thank you to the backers. So this is going to be an unbelievably detailed painting. This is my largest painting that I've ever done, my largest watercolor and gouache painting that I've ever done. It's 30 inches by 22 inches, which is just very large scale, and it's going to be incredibly detailed and have a lot of great texture to it as a little thank you. Going to be a mixture of gold and red and black, all these rich colors, and it's going to be Dynamite with Godzilla's atomic breath. And Godzilla is going to be fighting a very roided out version of King Kong, a very monstrous version of King Kong that's inspired by one of my favorite, other favorite companies, which is this company called Rebor, that does dinosaur figures and is actually doing a gorilla figure that looks breathtaking. And they've got that color scheme for it where the gorilla is blue and the fur is orange, which I'm really excited about. Let's see here. Oh, that's looking good. Trying out a new camera setup. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I love Shin Godzilla, and I love the detail of it. I love the minutia. I'm also a huge fan of Peter Jackson's King Kong. Love that movie. And I've got a tiny Weta statue over there, over one of my shoulders. Right? I'm not really that great at left and right. But I've got a little tribute to that, and then I've got a figure of one of the T-Rexes from that movie. But I pretty much love every King Kong movie. And I love Peter Jackson's King Kong. I think it's the creature is beautiful. But, you know, I'm not that picky when it comes to King Kong, I hate to say. I think I have every King Kong movie on Blu-ray, including King Kong Escapes, Kong vs. Godzilla, the 1976 King Kong, and let's see, There we go. There we are. That's a little creepier for that atomic breath that he's going to be unleashing on Kong. And then, true to the Japanese kaiju version of Kong, I'm going to have Kong having some electric lightning power, which is why I've got that orange to kind of set him off. So let's see if we can get that in frame. There we go. Whoops. Sorry about that. Sorry to shake anybody up there. There we go. And let's see if that's a decent angle for getting this thing on there. There we go. Still feels a little, well, actually it's not too bad on the big screen. So let's see what I need to do here. There we go. Here's a little bit of white gel pen. This is a Sakura Jelly Roll pen. And it's in white, and it is size 08. And you can get those on Amazon. That's usually where I get mine. And I'm sure you can get them on Blick and a bunch of other sites. But that's where I typically pick mine up. And they're really great for highlights. I found I can wash over them with color, and they hold up pretty well. And then I can just put in a lot of really fine detail with the white that I don't always want to do with a brush. Just trying to get that really kind of crazed look like I could take on a giant lizard kaiju gorilla as opposed to just a regular gorilla. So that's my plan for this guy. And I had this idea in my painting ever since I took the first book to press. So I just wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come up with how to execute this idea and put it together. And it just, the other day, I just was looking at all the paper that I had, and I was thinking about what size I wanted to cut the paper down to. And then I looked in the corner and I saw an uncut giant sheet of paper, and I said, go for it. Just do it large. Grab that sheet of paper and just start working. And I just started sketching it out. First, actually, though, I will say I sketched it out in Photoshop. Once I had the paper up on the easel, I go, I need to sketch this out, so I have some kind of plan. And took that sketch and printed it out onto an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper so that I could have a little reference piece to work from. And then I just sort of put it on here in freehand because something about scaling things up, I've had mixed success with it. Sometimes it kind of takes the life out of the painting and takes the life out of the art. And it's not that I'm against it. It's just that I'm not always that great at it. If you can maintain the life in your work when you do that process, by all means do it. I don't consider any of that stuff cheating or anything like that to scale up your sketches. In fact, I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm just not always that good at it, particularly when I have a piece that I want to have this much energy in. And I want a lot of energy in this piece. It's funny, but the bigger I work, as I've studied and as I've improved, the faster I've gotten. And I think that that's what I wanted for this piece. I wanted it to feel free, and I wanted it to have a sense of scale. There we go. That's starting to work. But there's a lot of really great kaiju artists out there that I've been following lately. There's a guy on Instagram that I follow named Robo7. He does some really cool stuff. Simon Lee, of course, did the concept designs for Godzilla King of the Monsters and did a really amazing job on Mothra and on King Ghidorah or King Ghidorah, depending on how you pronounce it. He's just a brilliant guy. And then, of course, there's I don't ever know how to pronounce his name. Lens Nations, I think it is, or Lensations, who I follow on Instagram, does some incredible stuff there too. And I love seeing that kind of stuff. And I actually didn't know that there was this. I mean, it's kind of silly to think of now. It's the internet, but I didn't know that there was this massive fan base for collecting this stuff. And the second I found it, it was just amazing. And then I found artists who did that kind of work. I found out about Robo 7 from Leslie Chambers, and he was wearing a shirt that was Jet Jaguar, and who else was on that shirt? Jet Jaguar, and it was from Godzilla versus Megalon. And he goes, "This was created by Robo 7," and I went, well, "Who's that?" I looked him up. Great stuff. Really cool work. Let me see. Let's try to put some color to these highlights now that they're white, and I've got a nice ground. There we go. And I'll leave some of that white there. There we go. There we go. And it just gives it that little extra bit of character and kind of marries it into the background when I do that. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about it. And doing things like this, painting and working late at night, is really great for me. It's a really strange time, and I think that people are looking for things and looking to do things that bring beauty to their lives, and I'm so inspired by the movies that I watch and the characters I watch and filmmakers and other artists that I find online, that it's just a huge part of it for me. And so when I work late at night, I've got this big piece of paper. I'm just surrounding myself with inspiration. I'm just so inspired by these artists. I'm so inspired. If you look, I don't know which way I lean. There we go. There's my Sideshow Collectibles, Grey Hulk. I love those guys. They make really great work. But so anything that right now, anything that's I can do to bring something beautiful and interesting and inspiring to the people who follow me, but also to my fellow artists, that's what I want to do. There's a lot of people who inspire me, and it's cool. And I think it's important to share that when you're inspired by things and you feel that kind of passion. And I'm grateful for the people who do. And that's a huge part of why I do these art books. I mean, the fact that, the second book funded, when the first book funded, I think I was in shock. When the second book funded, it became real to me. I couldn't believe it. And I never thought of doing a crowdfunding campaign. I never thought of any of that stuff. It was not something that entered my brain. And then I hit a certain amount of followers and I told my wife, I go, I'll do a crowdfunding, and told my kids, I'm going to do a crowdfunding project if I get over this many followers. And then I just had to go and do it, but I had no idea where that was going to go. And I'm still amazed and grateful for everybody who backed it. Look at, I love color. I love color theory. That orange blue just has such a nice effect to it. I wish I could get it to be a little bit, maybe that's better. Oh, there you can see it a lot better. I think a little bit better anyway. Maybe it was better before, for all I know. But I'm going to try to get some really nice blue light in there and some lightning for the power. I thought that was the coolest thing when I was a kid, that King Kong had these powers. I know some people think it's ridiculous, but and maybe it is, but it's just one of those joyful things. It's almost like Jack Kirby, Marvel Comics. It's fun. That makes you feel like laughing with joy at the playfulness of it. And that's one thing that I feel is hugely inspirational for me. Gotta make sure my daughter's not on camera. Just came down the stairs. That's something that's hugely inspirational for me when I'm working, which is putting together work and putting together art that's got that kind of joy in it. I don't ever take my work too seriously. I love you, sweetheart. Get some sleep. Okay. I love that kind of sense of joy and that sense of fun that comes from doing this kind of work. And I remember when Leslie was talking about King Kong Escapes, and I had seen it once when I was a kid, but I hadn't seen it for a while. And I checked that movie out, and he was like, "This is my favorite King Kong." And I was like, "Really? That's your favorite King Kong?" I knew it existed, but it was a very specific one to like. And I checked it out. And I thought, this is so much fun. Love this flick. So I have it on Blu-ray. And now that I'm working on this stuff, I think of how it's less about what the movies look like and more about how I felt when I was watching them. That kind of sense of energy that they had. And I really do admire artists who paint them as they look in the films. I think that's great. I think that's amazing. But for someone like myself, and I'll zoom out a little bit so we can get a sense of what this painting is. There we go. There's my brush. But I look at this stuff and let me see here. Let me move it over just a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better of a shot to kind of see what I'm doing here. But you can see there's going to be this scale, this scope to it. And that's the next big part that I'm looking to do, is kind of put the atomic breath in there of Godzilla shooting that kind of ray and the lightning kind of coming into King Kong's hands right there. Put a little bit more white in there. I think that's what it needs now. There we go. Really nice. I love this pen, not the artwork. Sounds like that's awesome. No, I'm thinking about the pen. I just love what this pen does. And it's amazing, it's these pens didn't exist, and I saw someone using one, and I said, what kind of pen is that you're using there? I just love the effect you're getting. And I think they were using a white pen on gray paper. And so I checked it out, and I'd never seen, and I'm sure somebody has, but I'd never seen anybody use it with watercolor or gouache and layering it. And I was really interested in trying it out, and it's worked great. I'm really glad I got a chance to discover this pen because someone was using it and told me what it was. So again, my name is Shanth Enjeti. I'm an illustrator and artist, and this is Shanth Enjeti Art. And if you have not had a chance to check it out yet, please do check the link in the description right here for my Indiegogo and take a look at some of the art that's going to be in that book. There's a lot more art than what's on the page right now, and it's going to be a really, really good book. I'm excited about it, and I am thrilled that all of you guys who backed it, grateful, 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 without a doubt. Oh, that's looking good. That's looking ferocious. Yeah, I love that under the jaw kind of light. And I'm sure when I'm doing this work, I'm thinking of movies and thinking of moments when I saw these things. I mean, I remember seeing King Kong versus Godzilla, the original version, and I was, of course, a huge. Actually, I was a fan of both, but I'm always a huge King Kong fan. I love gorillas. There's a lot of gorillas in my artwork, a lot of monsters, and the idea of King Kong having superpowers was so completely cool to me. And I was seeing it on TV. I was probably seeing it on a square formatted 1980s television set. It's amazing what I'm used to now versus what I had back then. There we go. Nice. Okay, that's starting to work. I think I'm going to be able to figure this one out. Good. So it's got a little bit of that. The white that I'm doing with the gel pen that I'm doing on both creatures, I always wanted to have this feeling of kind of fire, and particularly with this character. I mean, his fur is going to look like it's on fire, and that's what I'm after. I want it to feel there to be a passion and an energy to it. So when you look at this piece, and I think that's how I drew it. That's how I sketched it in my original sketch, which I did in Photoshop. I just scribbled it out with a giant brush, and this is what I came up with. And this is the essence of what I'm going for. It's just going to be a huge, dynamic piece that feels like the kind of comics that I grew up on and the kind of stuff that I loved when I was a kid, and that was drawn and illustrated by these master illustrators that we had working in comics and that we had working in special effects. And I'm inspired. I mean, I know I say how inspired I am by other artists, but it's very true. Yuji Sakai's sculptures based on the Godzilla films that get turned into figures. I mean, the guy is a genius. He just does work that inspires me so much. It's like owning a piece of the movie. And I think when someone supports and backs my books and somebody buys my work, what I want them to do is I want them to get a sense of having a piece of what that process is, of bringing these things to life. It's something I'm really excited about. I hope that when people take out the books, that it's something that brings them joy, and they flip through it from time to time. And I mean, that's the most I think I can hope for when I'm doing my work, is that it's something that people kind of, when they get some downtime, they just take out that book and flip through it, and it transports them to this, imaginative world where all of these things, monsters, creatures, werewolves, in this latest book, and vampires and all that stuff exist, and where I'm kind of paying tribute to great artists like Jack Peters, great artists who created all of these characters that we fall in love with. Guillermo del Toro, who's one of my heroes. Love Guillermo del Toro's work. And all the great creatures that they make. There we go. Now that's starting to shape up. And let me move that over so it can actually be seen. I just realized I moved my camera back to where I'm working on this creature. There we go. That's a little better. I was drawing as if it could be seen. There we go. So I put in a lot of highlights, and then I knocked them back and kind of eradicated them, and now I'm going in and picking out a few select highlights to give it a little bit more of a textured and three-dimensional quality to it. Because if you pick out highlights everywhere, it kills the piece. It just doesn't have any of the energy to it. Let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. Let that highlight stand out a little bit. And then give this a little bit of an edge. So it's like it's under the jaw of this creature there. And it's just catching the light underneath, and then it's rolling into shadow right there. And then I can pick up a few more highlights higher up. And I'll just give it a little, excuse me, a little bit more moxie. If that's a term I can use to describe this. Give it a little bit more energy and a little bit more character. I never want to put highlights everywhere. I want to try to be selective. Big part of this is kind of giving the viewer a tour through your work and saying, okay, this is the path right here. You can look anywhere that you want to look, but I've laid out a path for you. So if you want to just see what I've done, I'm going to make it easy for you. You don't have to look everywhere. You can, but you don't have to. And that's what it is. I mean, to me, a really solid composition is a guided tour through the experience. There we go. There we are. Now it's starting to feel sculptural. I like that quality. We'll see where it goes. Just laughing about my daughter coming downstairs. Love my kids. Let's see here. Here we go. Now the light sort of feels like it's appearing right there on the neck as it works up the figure. I have a really bad habit that I've had ever since I was a kid of swiping my hand over my work to knock things back, which is not good because you can smear your work real easily there. There we go. All right. So I think that's starting to work. Now I'm going to pull some highlights from right behind that on the neck. There we go. Give it a little bit of character. There we go. Just pulling a couple of highlights out right there. There we go. Just really light stuff. And I'll probably go in with some darks as well in a couple of those places. So that's how I've got that sort of broken area that's coming around the neck right there. I like for things to kind of disintegrate and dissolve a little bit when I'm working. It makes it more fun. That way it's not like seeing just a representation of it or just an accurate representation of it, which I also think is a cool way to go. Do not get me wrong. Some of my favorite kaiju artists will give you those beautiful representations of it. For me, when I'm doing it, it's almost, I don't want to say it's an interpretation, but again, I think it's like a guided tour of what I love about the essence of those creatures and how the forms work. When I'm drawing this, I'm thinking about the texture that was created by the 3D modelers. I'm thinking about the way the old costumes used to move, which is a huge part for me of making these characters. I think about that sense of scale and I think about that sense of fun. The work that went into the small cities and the miniature sets that those creatures would stomp across was so meticulous and so thoughtful and so respectful of the audience. They wanted to give them something that was beautiful and worth the price of admission. And that is what I want to do. I feel like I owe that to the artists who've worked on those films to bring at least that level of care and that level of enthusiasm to it. There we go. Now we're getting to the right amount right there of texture that kind of moves in and out. And I'll always kind of move things backwards and forwards till I get something that I'm happy with. And I think that's starting to get there. Right in there. We're starting to see it. Curious if I can adjust the light to kind of make it a little softer. I think that's a little easier. It's a little harsher on me, but I think it looks better on the drawing that way. Let me see what I can do here. And I don't know. Oh, that's kind of nice, though. That shows it a bit, I think. We'll see. Yeah, that's not too bad. Shin Godzilla is a character, and some of the most interesting characters defy that principle of Ray Harryhausen that Guillermo del Toro speaks about, which is to design a character or design a creature in repose and having a kind of sense of majesty to them. And I think that when I think about Rick Baker's werewolf from American Werewolf in London, that wolf, that creature, that demon wolf, whatever the heck it is, has this utterly locked expression, and it's terrifying. And I think Shin Godzilla does not have a relaxed look on his face. He has horrifying and more horrifying, which is kind of an amazing thing to me that it works so well. So sometimes those rules are amazing, to use, like in The Shape of Water, and looking at the asset in The Shape of Water, which I have, I think right over there behind me somewhere by the lamp, I think I have the asset. And I love that character, and I love Del Toro's designs, but there's something to be said for a movie like Shin Godzilla that just goes all out and says, this is a monster. It only has one expression. I don't ever feel like, even though it's not technically an expression, I never feel like a great white shark is ever in repose. I feel like it's always this aggressive form, and you can put it anywhere and it looks absolutely terrifying. And that's part of its charm. That's part of what makes it look so cool. It was one of the first things I ever tried to draw, was a great white shark. I think it was because Jaws 3 in 3D had just come out, and I desperately wanted to go see it. I was just obsessed with sharks. Sharks and dinosaurs, those were a big part of my youth. There we go. That nice little ripple effect going across it. There we go. Looks like I'm almost off the camera. There. Let's see if I can get that on there. There we go. There. I mean, the thing about Shin Godzilla that was so cool is it almost looked like a combination of, well, I mean, maybe it was. It looked like magma, or it looked like lava, a lava flow that was, cooling and had this kind of red glow that was coming out of it. Now, it wasn't this red, and I will probably put more darks in there, but it felt completely, it felt like there was a lifelike quality to the skin, and it when it was still, it always felt like it was in motion. It just had this great animated quality to it, this great thing about it that I loved. There we go. See how I'm doing with ink in this pen? Been using it for a while. Excuse me. Goodness. There we go. Do too much talking. Okay, I think we're going to go and put in some darks now. Let's see where my brush is. Looks like I picked up some paper there. There we go. Looks like that light is casting a shadow that it. There we go. And let me see. Let's put in shadow above the eye there, so that it sets it in a little bit deeper there. Gives it that really eerie quality looking down. Absolutely marvelous and terrifying character design. There we go. That's getting sculptural now. There we go. There we go. There, that's starting to feel like it's got that creepy quality to it. There we go. I think I want to, it's tough to say. I wanted to go a little bit darker on the top of the head right there, and I'm not sure about it. I can always bring it back, I guess, if it gets too dark, but I'll leave a little bit of an edge light there. Just a bit. There we go. Yeah, I think I like that. Big thing about painting and doing this stuff is try to keep the painting that's in your head from interfering with the painting that's in your hand and that's on the paper. It's a major factor for me. I think that a lot of artists create a lot of work in their head that never makes it onto the page. And the most important thing is to get your hand moving and to get your work happening. And that's something that is oftentimes, I think, hindered by the obsession with being too inside of your head, that I think is very chic. What one's intent, what one's intent is, and what the piece is about, and what's your biography, and all that other kind of stuff. And I think, to be honest with you, if you make really amazing work, people will investigate your biography after the fact. If you don't, at the very least, make some work. I think that's the most important thing, is get to the end of the day, look back at the end of the day and say, this is what I made. This is what I did today. And be productive. And for me, it doesn't matter if I'm washing dishes or taking out the trash or working on a painting or coming up with a story idea or talking on the phone with a friend of mine. It's always about, when it comes to my work anyway, and my drawings, it's about having something to show for the day I've been given. And sharing that process with you guys, I always hope that it's a positive thing in terms of it gets you thinking about stuff that you want to do. But there's no way, I don't think fast enough, I don't think anybody thinks fast enough to be having some deep intellectual thought process while I work. It's largely physical. Things are flashing through my brain, all the study that I've done in terms of looking at other people's work, master copies, drawing from special effects art, looking at comic book artists. All that stuff just comes through my brain, and all the practice I did of drawing by that stuff. It wasn't just looking. It certainly wasn't. It's looking with your hand. And right now, that's all that looking with my hand that I've done is coming through my work. And it just becomes this very muscle memory focus thing of drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling as you work. Drill, drill, drill. And then it just comes out, it finds expression in your work. And again, my name is Shanth Enjeti. I'm an artist, illustrator, and painter. And this is a piece for my second art book, which is available on demand on Indiegogo. I've already funded, and the link is in the description. And feel free to check that out. And this piece right here is a gigantic 30-inch wide by 22 inches high Godzilla versus Kong inspired piece with a giant gorilla and a creepy Shin Godzilla inspired creature. It's going to be a mixture of ink, gel pen, gouache, and gold paint to give it this kind of shimmer. And it's going to be really, really fun to bring that together. And you can already see some of that gold paint happening right there on the neck as it works its way around. Yeah, good. There's nothing more fun to me than doing this kind of work and exploring the possibilities and the physicality of it. My brain, even though I'm talking, my brain, thinking part of my brain when it comes to making artwork is pretty much shut off. The decisions I'm making are very much intuitive and instinctive while I'm working. Because it's the muscle memory part. It's very much an athletic process where you don't think about what your feet are doing. Your feet just know how to do things and take you where you're going. And that's a huge part for me. Let me see here. What do I want to do? Let's see. I'll fade that just a little bit. Bring some of that red around. Nice. Yeah, I love this material. I'm using Pelican Pan Opaque Watercolor set. Probably costs about $26, $27 for the entire thing. And there's 24 colors that come with it. It is not an expensive set. The box has a cartoon crab on it. You don't get any more simplified from that. And that combined with the Sakura jelly roll pens that I'm using. Nothing I'm using outside of maybe the tube of white gouache that I use. is that expensive, and even that's maybe $15, $20 for this one tube of paint. Costs almost as much as the set of paints I use. There we go. There, that's starting to come together and get that nice sculptural feel that I want. And I want to make sure that I make the snout on this Godzilla, this particular monster version of Godzilla that I've got going on, dark, because there's going to be this really intense atomic breath that's coming out of his mouth, and it's going to be light. And if I don't have enough dark leading into it, it's not going to work. And already pushing that back dark makes the white of the page that I've left there a little bit brighter. And it doesn't mean that his face can't have a highlight on it. It can absolutely have highlights on it. But they shouldn't be competing with the atomic breath, which is this intense fire that's coming out of it. You know, it's like a fire-breathing dragon, except it's nuclear. I mean, you don't get any more insane than that. And so I don't want to lose that aspect of it. So I'm going to take a look at this piece. I'm going to move it back here, and we'll see what we're looking at here. There we go. Let's move it back even further. I don't think I've moved it back this far yet. Move this back, and I'll put it right in front of my face, which is better for me anyway. Let's see. That is what we have got happening so far. And let's see if I can move my foot here. There we go. It's a little bit more comfortable. That is what I'm looking at right now for this piece. Got the sweep of it, the scope, have the sketch, do a little bit of a pan down. And you can see where the initial brush and ink work is very expressionistic, and that's what kind of inspired the intensity of the piece. And then it comes up to where these two are battling. And Shin Godzilla's tail is enormous. And it's going to be, see if I can move this over here a little bit. It's going to be going across the entire length of this painting. And it's just going to be an enormous, fun, and dynamic piece. You can see the white gel pen that I've got, you know, coming up here through the center of the figure. All of that stuff is going to play a role in making this a really special piece from Book 2. I'm really excited about Book 2, and I think the thing about it for me was, after I did Book 1, I really, really loved Book 1. There are very few copies of Book 1 left. I think if I do another campaign after this, which will be a while before I do, I'm probably going to make a special set that maybe has one or two all three books sets. But Book 2 is shaping up to be really dynamite, and I'm grateful for that, because I wanted to put it on the shelf next to Book 1 and have it be fantastic. And I was kind of in shock that Book 1 came out as good as it did, because it was my first art book. And I loved the print job on it, and I loved the artwork that was in it. And this book is just doesn't miss a beat following that book. And I think this piece might be one of, and there's a piece in the book that my wife says is the best thing I've ever done. Now, take that with a grain of salt. I mean, she is an artist, and she does have a career. But that piece, if I can see if I can get it out of here. There we go. Get this shelf open. There we go. Doesn't hurt my shoulder too much. That piece, it's not this piece right here, although I do like this piece. And it's not that piece. And it's not this piece right here. Let me see which piece it is. It is Another Godzilla piece, interestingly enough. But it's from a different time period. Let's see here. This one, not that one. Oh, I like this one a lot though too. But this, I mean, this piece I really like. It's just a crazy giant Franken Kong waking up, and this is also in book 2. Link in the description, as they say. Here's another Godzilla-inspired piece that I'm crazy about. I like how this one's coming together. And there's the cover of the book, right there. And let me see what else. There's a Godzilla. Oh, there it is. There we go. This is my wife's favorite piece in the book. She loves this piece. And I really like it too. There's a tiny figure, and she's riding this gigantic cat creature. Well, not gigantic comparatively speaking, trying to rescue the son of Godzilla, which I kind of redesigned. And that's the atomic breath right there. So that's the kind of thing I do with atomic breath. I think that it might very well be one of the best things I've ever done. I didn't think about it when I was painting it, but you know, I like every piece that's in the book for a different reason. And I think that this piece is already starting to get kind of a special place in my heart. I think it's going to be the last image I do for the book. It's the last one I invented for this book. And, you know, when I look at the detail... Hey! It's good to see you, Michael. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that is Godzilla versus Hedorah. I love that. I have it on Blu-ray right over here because I'm a Blu-ray person, just like yourself. So, yeah, oh yeah, that is an absolute favorite. We have a very special guest with us, just popped in. It's good to see you, my friend. I hope all is well. Let me see here. And I'm looking forward to sending you your copy of the book. Michael introduced me to the Hammer horror films, and that's been a huge part of this. Yes, absolutely. This is based on Shin Godzilla, and I'm kind of doing a hugely jacked up King Kong monster. And I've got something that I think you'll enjoy, Michael. One of my figures from over in the room. Let me see if you can see this. One of my all-time favorite movies. So there you go. There's my Wesley Snipes as Blade figure right there. Also inspires me. But yes, absolutely. Monster and creature design, that's everything. Right now, that's the stuff that I'm interested in. Yeah, the tiny arms are the giveaway. You're right. Michael, what's your favorite Godzilla movie? That's what I want to know. I know you're a big fan. I see some Mecha Godzillas behind you during your stream, which is great to see. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Blade. Yeah, right? Blade is the best. Love Blade. There is only one Blade. There is only one actor who will ever own that role. That's just the way it is. Love that movie. I'm actually working on a piece that's inspired by two of Michael's favorite actors, and roughing it in right now. and two of my favorite actors, but I've definitely got I haven't got his likeness down yet. But there is the piece I'm working on right now that's kind of inspired by a horror-themed Hound of the Baskervilles. And there you've got Peter Cushing with sawed-off shotgun battling evil with Wesley Snipes. And they're a team of investigators. And I used a recent photo of Wesley Snipes, and I'm kind of creating this cloak kind of character that's going to be... He's going to be there with some kind of a weapon. And then there's this big, dog that's going to have another figure down here that it's stalking. That's based on this gigantic breed of pit bull. So yeah, I had to make sure I had him represented in the book because he's one of my favorite. I didn't know if I was going to put Blade in the book. I wanted to do something that was more him now. So that's what I'm using for reference there. I haven't got his likeness down yet, but I'm giving it a shot. We'll see how it goes. He's got a tough face. Movie stars are hard to paint, and Peter Cushing is surprisingly difficult to paint. It's hard not to make him look like Tarkin and to give him that humanity that he had as Van Helsing. Oh, yeah. Ugh. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the stuff that I watch. I'm going to go broke buying those Blu-rays. That's all I can say. I just got that Criterion set. And even though I wish it had more bonus features, I also have a lot of the individuals on Blu-ray, and I love them. They're great, and I'm still chipping away at my Hammer horror collection that Michael inspired me to start getting. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, these are fantasy movies I'd like to see. Dream movies. I mean, can you imagine Peter Cushing with Wesley Snipes? That would be the greatest duo ever. I kind of had Cushing more in the role of Watson, and Wesley Snipes is the lead for me because I mean, I don't know. He's got just for the action aspect of it. I like both characters. It's just I want to see another fight, as many fight scenes as I can see with Wesley Snipes before I'm done. I saw Passenger 57 in the movie theater when I was growing up in Tennessee, and I've been a fan of his before then. Rising Sun, and then his dramatic work. Just an amazing actor. Oh yeah, I hear you. I had a similar. I'm glad to have it, but you're right. Yeah. I did want a little bit more from it. I'll be honest with you. You're absolutely spot on with that. Hey, Sarah, how you doing? Good to see you. Hopefully you're enjoying summer. Yeah, I mean, it's you can't do much better than, for me anyway, those early Blade movies. They created this incredible lore. And, I think it's the same thing that it's not the pantheon that the Godzilla movies have created. It's not like that. It's not on that scale because we've only got a handful of Blade movies. But I think that as I've drifted into the Hammer horror films and I've started studying the Hammer horror films, I'm trying to think of the ones I've just gotten on Blu-ray. I just got the... Michael, I should send you a copy of this. I think you'd get a kick out of it. But I just got the 4K of The Man Who Laughs, that early Universal silent horror films. And good. Keep working on some art. That's important. Important to always keep doing that. But I just got a brand new horror film, too. The Creature on the Left. Was that your inspiration? That I've never seen anything like it. Looks ferocious. Oh yeah, so that was inspired by this company called Rebor, a UK company, and they were playing around with a very ferocious kind of gorilla. And so I was thinking, what would a Shin King Kong look like? What would that be? And I know that sounds like a very bizarre idea, but that was my idea for it. I'm so glad to hear that. Thanks, Sarah. I can't wait till I get these books wrapped up and sent off to you guys. And this extra piece is there because of all of you crazy backers who pushed it over 6,000 over its next sort of benchmark, and I thought I need to add another piece, and I'm adding 10 more pages. And it's good to go. Everything is still on schedule, which is great, but I just wanted to make sure it's the best book it can possibly be for you guys. That is the plan. I mean, everything from the packing of the book and everything else. And funny enough, when I saw Michael talking about this stuff, and Michael's, been so enthusiastic and such a great supporter, of the work, always has a kind, thing to say about me. And it's, oh my gosh. See, I can't even read that. Shanth is awesome. That's such a nice thing to read. I do appreciate it, and it's very, very cool to see. I appreciate it, gang. It's, when I started doing the Shanth Enjeti art books, and it was like, I was just doing this artwork, and I was in a really inspired mode. It just kind of came out of nowhere after a while of not being into my work. And, I just said to myself, I'm going to put a collection together. And Shanth Enjeti Art Book 1, Autonomous Treks, was the first one I did. And then I basically, that went well, and I said, I think I'm going to try to do a second one. And I was honestly completely surprised when the second one funded. The first one didn't surprise me as much as the second one did, because, I don't take anything for granted, and I was just deeply moved by all of the support that I got for the book and for both books. And it's a tremendous thing. That's right. Yeah, gosh, that's crazy to think about too. It's definitely been a strange academic year. It's been very weird, but it is a privilege to do the job that I do, sir. It's a very big privilege, and it's the same thing to be making these books for you guys. I take so much inspiration from people like Michael, from people like Leslie P. Chambers, from people who are passionate about these movies and passionate about all this different stuff. I know I say this all the time, but I wouldn't... Oh, now I gotta see that. You guys are great. Well, I want to see that artwork now. I want to see that stuff. You better hit me up on Facebook so I can check that stuff out. That's for sure. I gotta see that. It actually does. It glazes over the jelly roll pen, the Sakura jelly roll pen, so I can actually glaze it over, and then I can put the jelly roll back on top of it. It's kind of this weird process that I found of working, and I don't know, it's very strange how that works. Yeah. It's so bizarre, I like the process of kind of draw painting, if that makes sense. And not, and not getting too hung up on just the painting part of it. And I used to hate painting when I was younger because I was terrible at it. And I got into it, and I love it now. But there's always going to be a part of me that is a draw painter. When I zoom out and you can see how expressionistic, almost like Chinese or Japanese, brush painting, in terms of how I started with the sweep of this piece. And it just gives, absolutely try it. It just gives it this, is that paint or some type of material that you create with? So let me see here. So the paints that I use for this are $20-something, maybe $15 for the smaller set. And they are Pelican Pan Opaque Watercolor Gouache. And I'll see if I can tip this so you can see it. Which way do I go? This way. And I'm going to lift it up out of there. So don't spill the ink, but it's worth doing. Sarah knows this stuff really well. But this is the stuff. And it's an opaque watercolor on Amazon for $15 to $20. And I think it's $29 for the 24 set, and this is the 12 set. I don't know how much it costs. And then I use a tube of white gouache. And opaque watercolors. It has a little cartoon crab on the box. People can't believe I paint with it. But it covers really well. It's like Japanese poster paint, the kind of thing they do backgrounds with for Hayao Miyazaki's films or anime films. and it's a joy to work with, and it's not too expensive, and it's easy to transport. And then I use a tube of white gouache with it. Okay, go get some sleep. Excellent. All right. There'll be more of the stream for you to see later. So take care, my friend. Have a good evening. Oh, my goodness. So, Michael, how are things out in Oklahoma? Everybody doing okay out there? Family all right? I hope so. Because, you know, I love watching your videos while I work. I watch them all the time. Hey, Kevin Lee. Good to see you. Oh, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. It's so great seeing so many former students around here. Just wonderful. And current students, for that matter, too. And it's been, I mean, the evolution of this stuff and the evolution of the work as I put this stuff together. And I'll see if I can give you guys a little bit better shot in on that creature, the sort of ferocious giant gorilla-like creature there. And so that's a face that I've spent some time on now, and I'm starting to get it where I need it to be, starting to give some of that energy to it. It's interesting because part of me, it's inspired by King Kong, but then another part of me, when I look at it, gets me thinking about War of the Gargantuas. And so it's strange, you know, it's strange how that stuff comes together. I mean, I just have these kaiju films in my head all the time, you know, when I'm working. Giant monsters, Universal monsters, and now I've added Hammer horror films to the mix, thanks to Michael. So I have Blu-ray goals that will last me well into the future. And that's the cool part of this gig. Good, good. Nice. Oh, I can't wait to see that review. I also had a friend introduce me to Let the Right One In, so I really want to hear your review of the adaptation, of the American adaptation. Anybody in the chat who does not follow Michael at The Choice Voice, do. He's one of my favorite YouTubers, does great work, and yeah, just really does some, I mean, I love I don't know where I would tell someone to start, but I would say just burn through those Hammer horror reviews. I love the horror stuff. I love the Halloween October month of horror work. That's some of my favorite stuff. Talking about Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, thoughts on the remake, all of that stuff. In case, Michael, in case you're wondering if I really do watch all your videos, because I actually do. I know, you're absolutely right. Well, listen, if you've got a top 10 list, I might send you a movie just to have you review it. You know, that might be until I get myself set up to back your Patreon. There should be a system. If you send me a Blu-ray, I'll review it, but it's got to be from my list. That way you can make sure you get those movies, because you keep me entertained when I work. I mean, that's huge for me. It's really great brain food and creative fuel. Peter Cushing would not be in that painting, and I would not have sought out Twins of Evil if it wasn't for just your praise of Peter Cushing as an actor and the humanity. Because, like a lot of people, I was introduced to Peter Cushing as Governor Tarkin in Star Wars. And it's so funny to me because he is so much more than that. And obviously people who were watching that film knew it, but I sure did not. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, your reviews are great and thoughtful. In particular, I'm trying to think of, there were a couple of reviews that I remember, and I think it was, oh my goodness, I think it was either it was the Joker review that you did, and I think there was also the Adam Sandler more drama film that he did about the guy with I think it was a gambling problem. I'm not sure which one it was, and you just had such a heartfelt, thoughtful comment on the examination of human frailties and how people struggle and how we could all do better. to be there for each other, and it really kind of hit me. And I know it sounds like apples and oranges, but in a similar way, you talked about Mr. Cushing and his work, and you talked about the thoughtfulness he brought to his characters. I still have not seen Hound of the Baskervilles, his Sherlock Holmes version of it. I've seen the what's it called? The Basil Rathbone Blu-rays, which I have, and just a great set. It's just a great set, and I was like, should I check out those Peter Cushing, Sherlock Holmes films? And now I'm just committed to it. I just got to know. I wonder if is there a UK Blu-ray version I should check out over the American version, because I do have a region-free Blu-ray player. So, maybe I should probably get the UK version, because you're always saying the UK versions of the Hammer films are so much better. They've got way more bonus features, but I'd be curious to know if Hound of the Baskervilles has a particular version that I should get, because I love Sherlock Holmes. I'm actually, see if I have it around here. I think I did a minute ago. Huh. Oh yeah. There we go. I'm sitting here with the complete Sherlock Holmes volume. And love Sherlock Holmes, and the idea of seeing Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes is something I'm living for. I cannot wait to see it. There we go. Now that's starting to feel like the fur has this almost fire-like quality to it. Yeah, I think I'm going to get the UK version. I'm probably going to grab that from Amazon UK. You had me sold when you were reading all the bonus features for the Hammer films. I still have largely the American versions of all of them. I just got, what was the one I just got? I just got Ingrid Pitt starring in it, and I think it's Countess Dracula I just got, that I'm looking forward to watching, because I was really touched by Ingrid Pitt's backstory. I discovered her in, I discovered her in Vampire Lovers, which was the trilogy of films. I think you discussed them in when you had recently got some films from that collection. And she's got an amazing backstory. And as a personal story, escaping Nazi Germany and all of this stuff, and Peter Cushing and her were really close. So when I found out that she had starred as Countess Dracula, I was really interested. I don't know if it's a Hammer horror film or not, but I was desperate to get it. Yes, I have seen the film Congo. Oh yeah, I was obsessed. I think it was Stan Winston who did the gorillas for that film, and I used to draw them in college, the white apes in that. I think Tim Curry was in that movie, if I'm not mistaken, and Ernie Hudson, I think, was in that movie as well, and the effects in that were so great. I loved the animatronics, and I used to look at the row of behind the scenes. I think I still have the behind the scenes book for Congo somewhere, and I loved it. Yeah, I think it was Michael Teves is his name, Teves, who did pencil drawing designs for those. Great. I saw that in the theater, and I loved it. Loved Congo. Great flick. Really good flick. I loved the animatronics. I loved that they had this almost over-exaggerated, cartoonish, ferocious feel to them. I thought was beautiful. Yes, I know. It's tough. I mean, when we lose the greats, it's always rough. Stan Winston, it's he just did such amazing work. It's him and Rick Baker, for me, are just incredible artists. And I look at that work and I'm just filled with gratitude for everything they brought to the game, all the inspiration they brought me, all the stuff that I pull from. I'm so incredibly inspired by Stan Winston. I remember seeing the behind-the-scenes Jurassic Park with the life-size T-Rex and them working on it and sculpting it, and that was one of those things that was just absolute fuel to my creative fire. I mean, I love his work. Terminator, the T-800, the Predator costume, Predator mask. Loved that stuff. It's funny. I love the Predator movies, but I was actually a Predator 2 fan, even though I recognize that Predator is a masterpiece. But I remember sneaking into the movie theater to see Predator 2, and I absolutely loved the ensemble for Predator 2. I loved Ruben Blades. I loved who else was in it? Was it Maria Conchita Alonso? I'm trying to think of who else was in that, and Danny Glover, of course. I thought was a great. If you weren't going to have Arnold back, you needed another movie star, and I thought he did a really great job. Absolutely right. I mean, it's I miss those practical effects. I still have not seen, and it's embarrassing to admit, but I still have not seen. I can't believe I'm even blanking on the name. That's even more embarrassing. How can I not get this? I'm not gonna even go there. I can't believe I'm blanking on this. This is terrible. But one of the best special effects movies of all time, starring Kurt Russell, and based on or inspired by the H.P. Lovecraft story, The Mountains of Madness, and I'm totally blanking on it. And the gentleman who did the special effects for that, who I think has since retired. And it's crazy that I can't remember the name of that movie. How am I missing that movie? Kurt Russell, some of the greatest practical effects, the spider head of all time, and I still haven't seen it. Let me get the camera over to where I'm actually painting now. Just realized I was so busy thinking of that movie. I can even see the poster, and I can't get there. It's unreal. Oh, it's going to drive me crazy. The Thing! Thank you! I have not seen The Thing. I'm so sorry. Everyone just looks at me like I'm crazy that I haven't seen that movie yet. I feel terrible. But yes, I have not seen The Thing yet. Shameful. Shameful for an artist not to have seen that. I mean, especially someone who loves monsters and creatures. It's just embarrassing. It's like, it's a mark on my good name, my movie buff name. The drawer behind me has just is filled with Blu-rays. I'm like you, I collect Blu-rays. I just try to save up and chip away at my collection because I love owning movies. And for me, as a cinephile, having not seen The Thing is it's got to be done. It's one of the most important special effects films ever made, and I have not seen it. It is a masterpiece in the genre, and I need to get that done. Absolutely need to get that done. Let's see. Okay, I think that's working. Let's see, what else do I have to do? And Michael, you got to hit me up on Facebook. At some point, we have to do a stream together. That would just be a blast. Maybe after I see The Thing, we can talk about it. I can give you my first impressions as a complete noob to it, which is I'm really looking forward. There's a few first movie watching experiences that I always look forward to, and that would be one of them. That would absolutely be one of them. I want to see that movie desperately, and I'm just going to have to make it happen. Oh, is this the one I want here? Oh, it's not the right mechanism. I'm trying to figure out how to lower this thing. Yeah, I got to see The Thing. I'm going to put that on my to-do list. There's just so many great movies. Let's see if I can get right down on that part right there. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine seeing that movie young. I've seen clips of it, and I've been too chicken to check it out. So, although I will say, I saw RoboCop when I was really young. And that movie, I was way too young to see RoboCop. That movie freaked me out. But I'm still a huge fan of it. It's just, I think it's an amazing movie, but boy, was that... I saw the poster and I thought, that's a cool character. I want to see that movie. And got into that movie, and yeah, when Murphy gets taken out, that'll leave you in a bad place. That was a lot to see. I mean, I look at it now, and I was showing it to my wife, and she's like, yeah, it's kind of silly. And I was like, yeah, but when you're a little kid and you see that, you think, it's a bit much. And again, for those of you guys checking out the channel who haven't seen me before, my name is Shanth Enjeti, and I'm an illustrator and artist, and this is Shanth Enjeti Art, and you can check out my art book, which is on Indiegogo, and it is available on demand. The campaign is already funded, thanks to people like Michael, who's in the chat right here, and yeah, and do check out Michael's channel, The Choice Voice. Great channel for reviews and really just thoughtful commentary on movies and on horror and on monsters, on creatures, and current films as well. Films that are coming out right now as we speak. Questions: on average, how long does it take you to complete a piece of artwork? And 2, what piece took you the longest to finish? Oh, that's a tough one. Oh boy. The one that's taken me the longest, which I don't have on me, was actually, and it's interesting you're asking me this on Memorial Day weekend, there was a soldier in our town named Patrick McKenna, First Sergeant Patrick McKenna, who was Special Forces, and he was P. Andrew McKenna, I should say, and he is, or Andrew McKenna, and I'm thinking of his brother too, but Andrew McKenna, and he was killed in Afghanistan, and I made a decision, and it took me a while to get the skills, but that I wanted to paint a portrait for his mom and his dad, because my wife had his younger brother, and he had passed away 10 years earlier in a motorcycle accident. And I think you can see it documented on my Instagram. There's a post, or there's a post of it, but I labored over that painting because it was so important for me to get it right for his mom, and I think that's the longest I spent on a painting ever. And I think that one was about 2 or 3 months from start to finish, and it was such an important piece. So something like this, a piece like this, will probably take me, from start to finish, a couple of weeks, but I've always got a couple of plates spinning, when I work. And so I think the piece I spent the longest on was on First Sergeant Andrew McKenna, and his portrait for his parents, which I was able to give to them when they renamed the post office in my hometown, Bristol, Rhode Island, after him, which was beautiful. And at that ceremony, I was able to give them, kind of, once everybody had cleared out, and I didn't want to overwhelm them, but I was able to give them the painting, and I heard from them later they enjoyed it, and his mom thought it looked like him. And so that was a big deal for me, because their sacrifice their family has had to make, and that he made the ultimate sacrifice, is really touching to me. Just an amazing thing. And I have a little shell that they turned into a bottle opener, having a little wooden box that some friends, mutual friends, gave me, and I keep it right where I can see it in the line of sight of where I work, because I always think about my ability to express myself freely did not come free, and as an artist, and so I'm very grateful for his sacrifice. So that was the one. It kind of seems like I got off on a tangent, but that was the painting I think that I spent the most time on and poured the most into. I can't imagine putting more effort into a painting than I did into that. Trying to get a likeness for them. But yeah, it all depends on what the piece is for and how meticulous it is. And, I think I'm going to be spending a lot of time, because it's a small painting, on Peter Cushing's likeness. His face is harder than I thought it was when I started painting it, but he has to be in the piece. Got to have my tribute to 2 great vampire hunters. 2 of the best that have ever been in the business. from two different eras, and they each bring their own gravitas to it. Both movie stars. Although, I mean, I think of Peter Cushing and actors like Peter Lorre as movie stars. But I realize that while they are, someone like, Wesley Snipes or Denzel Washington in Book of Eli, which I have a portrait of Denzel Washington I did that took a little while, but honestly, it was him as the character from the Book of Eli. And I love that movie. Gary Oldman is tremendous in that movie. And I love the fight scenes. And I'm a big fan of the director's work. I think they do a really great job with their movies. And those are movie stars. Those are people that will fill a theater on just their name alone. And, it's I guess I had this idea for, with Peter Cushing, thinking of a movie like Rising Sun, where you have Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes kind of going toe-to-toe, and brilliant performances. I thought they were both great in that flick. I have some of my favorite, witty banter lines in that movie. Oh, yeah, I have a steel book of that movie, and I have a 2-foot by 3-foot portrait of Wesley Snipes in that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Criterion Channel has got some of the best stuff. Favorite Kurosawa film? Oh yeah, I've got a favorite Kurosawa film. I've got a couple. Kurosawa did my favorite Shakespeare adaptation, so I love Throne of Blood and I love Ron, but of course, as a starting place, Seven Samurai. I mean, Seven Samurai, I've watched that movie so many times because of Mifune's acting. Spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't seen Seven Samurai, but, catch up. It's been out for a while. And I don't think it diminishes the movie to know it. But there's this part where Toshiro Mifune is carrying a child in a particular sequence, and he falls down in this stream, this little stream that's operating this water wheel, and he's holding the baby, and the guy's like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "This happened to me. This baby is me." And it's one of the great all-time acting moments. I mean, talk about another movie star. Mifune in every movie. Throne of Blood, where he's Macbeth, essentially. And in Seven Samurai, I mean, he just grabs you by the heartstrings. He's amazing. And then Ishiro Honda, I believe, who's... I hope I'm getting that right. Gosh, no, it's not. It can't be right. I gotta look that up. But the actor... Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I'm gonna watch The Thing. So... oh, that's a great... See, now that's a movie I should send you. I may be sending you that, Michael. So don't buy that yet, okay? If you don't own it, I will. That may happen. That may absolutely have to happen, because that would be my request. If you could watch that, if I get you that movie and you review it, that would make my day. I would love to see that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's Ishiro Honda who was in Godzilla and is actually the head samurai in Seven Samurai. So there's a really great connection with Godzilla in that movie. And I believe Kurosawa and the director of... let's see if I have it in here. Gosh, I have a ton of artwork and everything piled up in here. But Kagemusha, I have Throne of Blood, and here's Seven Samurai. So here's my Seven Samurai Blu-ray, and I believe it is Ishiro Honda, but I just want to see where I can find that out. But it's just such a great film and a Dynamite Blu-ray release. So yeah, Michael, let me know. It says you don't have it, so don't go and order that on me, because I'll get that to you. Because I would love to have you review that film. That would be fantastic. I can't think of a better film that I would like to see you review. than Seven Samurai. It's just a dynamite film. And but you know, it's interesting because the Kevin, the thing about Kurosawa is I have a book of his paintings that I ordered from Japan, which I probably talked about, interestingly enough, when I had you as a student. I mean, I may have. I hope I did. And that book was when he couldn't make films before George Lucas helped him fund the later part of his career, which started with Kagemusha. He did a series of watercolor paintings, and they're beautiful. So I have a real soft spot, even though it's not considered one of his masterpieces. I have a soft spot for Kagemusha and the Shadow Warrior, I guess it was in the American release. And I love Ron. I like his late work. I think a lot of artists create brilliant work later in their career that's compared against their early work, but it's just a different animal. For me, it's the difference between original Star Trek and The Next Generation. I think that they're both Roddenberry masterpieces, and I think the original Star Trek is obviously the classic. If you're introducing someone to Kurosawa, you would say, look at Seven Samurai, look at the early work. But there's something in those later works. There's still some magic of their genius in that later work. And I think that Kurosawa's late work, it's the late work of a master filmmaker. And that's what makes it so astounding. I love using these white Sakura Jelly Roll pens. They do some really great stuff with detail. There we go. So yeah, if anybody on this watching this video wants to see some really great movie reviews, check out Michael's channel, The Choice Voice. It's one of my favorite channels to go to for reviews. Really great stuff. And again, this is Shanth Enjeti. I know it's always tricky to figure out how to pronounce my name. It's just Sean with a TH. And I have an art book on Indiegogo. The link is in the description. If you are interested in seeing more of my work and supporting my work, either way, go check it out because there's some neat artwork on the page. And it is already funded. It's available on demand. And this is a new piece that's going to be in the book because the book just crossed over $6,000, which is wonderful. And I want to make sure I make the book have a lot of just great stuff in it. And as I mentioned earlier, my wife thinks that one of the best paintings, which is that Smog Monster Hedorah piece with Godzilla in it, is the best thing. I think that's her favorite thing, her favorite painting I've ever done. And I really like it a lot. I do enjoy it, but it's I'll kind of go with her on that one. I'll go with her. If she says it's good, I'll take her taste over it because I have a hard time looking at my stuff, and you know I see the things I wanted to do a little bit stronger on it, and a little bit better always. But I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at enjoying what they turn out to be, and not so stuck on what I could improve, which I think is always the way it is with anybody doing anything creative, whether it's making videos, making movies, any kind of work we do, even as a parent with my kids. I mean, it's always, I'm always trying to do the best I can do every day, and leave it all in the ring, and that's a huge part of this for me. So when I do this book, I want you to get it and know that whatever else one can think about it, and I'm going to make sure it's a dynamite book. I left nothing outside the ring. I put everything into it for every single book. That's the goal. That's the goal.